Do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Good evening,
What's up, my friend?
Dr. Jared Johnson. Do you prefer that people call you doctor? I mean, is this where you're at now in your phase of life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you know how much it costs, yes. Please make me get my money back.
When you pay that much for the title, people better use it.
Exactly. You better call me that. Yeah.
Good to see you, Tyler. There's 4 people. Okay, we got 10 people in here now, so it's not completely empty. Tyler, welcome to the comment section here. Tony Petrosky, good to see you as always. Yes, go blue. Jared, we talked about this, man, last week. We were looking ahead to this game. I don't know. Are we shitty fans because both of us were a little bit skeptical. We were a little bit uncertain going into this one, and Michigan certainly proved us wrong. I think Michigan proved a lot of people wrong, honestly, this weekend. And you know, before we get into it, right off the bat, credit to Sherrone Moore, credit to the Michigan Wolverines. They took a lot of heat for the entire week after that USC game. They looked like crap on both sides of the ball, just playing undisciplined, uncharacteristic, especially defensively. And, you know, there was a lot of speculation and questioning about Sherrone Moore and is he capable and I mean, we talked about it multiple times on the show. Michigan came out and played disciplined football. They played inspired. Did they play perfect? No. Were there mistakes? Yes. And there's still things that they need to improve upon. But I think by and large, Jared, like that was a perfect and fair representation of what you should expect from Michigan football week in and week out. I mean, would you say... Yeah. Like, we know that there's things that need to improve on, but that seemed like a pretty good representation of where this team should be right now.
100%. I mean, if you think about what they did, it's what you expected them to do this year, right? They were going to run the ball, control the clock. The offense had the ball for 37 minutes, right? The defense was going to do what they did. They were going to shut down the opposing offense, and you weren't going to require Bryce to make big throws, right? You're going to give him easy passes that he can complete to continue moving the ball down the field. And they put it all together in that game. So, I mean, yeah, I would say, you know, game 7, you can't be too mad. I mean, you know, again, you go back to the Oklahoma loss. That was early in the season. They weren't ready for it. USC was just, I still don't even know what to think about that game. But, you know, game 7, they everything that we thought this team could do and should do to win games, this is literally what they did.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. Like, if you could look at where you hope this team would be, obviously you don't want 2 losses on the record, but I think anybody realistically going into this year, highly unlikely that Michigan was going to be perfect at this point in the season, just given, you know, you got a true freshman quarterback, you're breaking in some young guys offensively, defensively, you're still moving around some pieces here and there, but they are pretty deep defensively. To be 5-2 at this part of the year and to put together that performance, I saw before the game, there were a lot of people all of a sudden that were trying to like discredit Washington, like Washington wasn't 5-1 and you know, the loss came to Ohio State. But when you listen to Jake Butt talk about this team, like, and again, this is a guy who doesn't really like, you use a lot of hyperbole. I mean, he's pretty honest and balanced in how he approaches things. And he was viewing Washington as a playoff caliber team. Doesn't mean Washington's going to make the college football playoff, but they've got weapons on both sides of the ball. And fortunately, Michigan was just able to clamp down. And I know that the first half was a little bit slow. You go into the half 7-7, but dude, that second half, and you could see it in the comments, Michigan really clamped down and did what we expect them to do. And we'll go through some of that stuff, but defensively, they were dominant. The rushing attack was absolutely relentless, and they made a handful of big plays through the air. I get it. There were some drop issues in the first half, and we'll probably talk about that. But overall, what you saw wasn't overly complicated from this offense. It didn't look overly elite. It was just good, sound football. And I think that that's a recipe for success moving forward. When you look at the schedule for the remainder of the way here, at least in the regular season, Michigan is going to be favored in every game it plays up until that final week in November. And so now the stage is set for Michigan to go into that game against Ohio State with 2 losses on the record and to be playing for potentially a spot in the college football playoff. And when you talk about, you know, that game at the end of the year, wanting it to have meaning, it feels like everything is sort of trending to this one's going to mean a whole hell of a lot, even in this new era of college football where the playoff is expanded and you don't have to win a conference championship. It's starting to feel like Michigan's going to be playing for a lot there at the end of November.
Yeah, without getting too deep into it, I mean, not only could you be playing for a college football playoff position, but I mean, there's a scenario. I believe Ohio State and Oregon don't play this year, do they? I don't believe that they do.
I don't think so. No, I don't.
So, there's a weird, and I don't know the breakdown of it, whatever the chemistry of it, but there's a way you could be knocking Ohio State out of the Big Ten championship as well, right? Indiana, we look at Indiana. I think Indiana's undefeated. There's just nobody left on the schedule for them. Oregon's got the one loss to Indiana. There's a potential that you could do a lot of damage, make it in the playoff, and mess up things for Ohio State too. But I mean, for Michigan fans, making it in the playoff, winning that game would be more than enough. But yeah, it's all still there in front of us. And like you said, we did the little things right. Bryce threw the right passes. We got the tight ends back. Staple for Michigan. I mean, they took the middle of the field. That's where it's been all year. Why are those deep passes down the sideline to McCulley not working? Because you got the sideline playing defense. Why are the screen passes not working? Because they suck. But the middle was always open, and that one, the first game we took advantage with Marlon Klein, and then it kind of just faded. I mean, I saw a stat. He had 93 yards that first game, and then the tight ends had 120 in all the games combined since then. And then Saturday they went for over 110 or something like that, and a touchdown. Clearly, it's part of the game plan. I
know Klein had that injury, but it's weird the way that he's sort of disappeared in this offense, because after that week 1 performance, I get it. It was just, was it Arkansas State or New Mexico State? Who the hell was it? Can't remember. New Mexico, right?
Mexico State. Yeah.
I don't remember. Whoever it was, Marlon Klein looked damn good.
Yeah, he looked great against whoever it was.
He looked awesome. He looked great. What's terrible about that is I was at the game on the sideline taking photos. I can't remember who it was.
I was up in the box.
Well, welcome to life in your 40s here. This is how it works. You talked about Indiana the rest of the way out. I mean, it sure looks like they're headed toward an undefeated season. So here's who they got remaining: UCLA. Then they go at Maryland, at Penn State. That one's a little bit of a wild card to me. I'm not really sure what to make of Penn State. Then you got Wisconsin at home. Then you got to bye. Then you go on the road to Purdue. And so for Indiana, I mean, it sure seems like the stage is set for them to be undefeated. And what we haven't seen quite yet from Ohio State, I know that week 1 against Texas, that was sort of a tight battle. Texas is kind of one of those teams where you're not really sure what to make of them at this point, but I don't know that Ohio State has been challenged the way that I think Michigan is built to challenge them. And so there's a lot that you can learn about a team when they're put in that kind of situation. But again, that's, we're looking a little bit too far ahead at this point. We're thinking playoffs. I would love to get a home playoff game in the Big House in December. I think that would be incredible. But the bottom line is, Jared, for all of that to be even a reality at this point, Michigan had to go out and beat Washington this weekend, and that's exactly what happened. And so let's just get into it a little bit. I mean, I've got some things that stood out to me. I'm sure some things stood out to you. How do you want to do this? You want me to run through it first, or are there a couple things that you want to address before we get into it?
No, you can run it. I got a couple of things here, but I'm sure we're going to touch on a lot of the same things and agree on some things.
Yeah, so just let me know as we're going through it. The first thing that stood out to me was Bryce Underwood. And, I think that's because there's so much hype about Bryce Underwood, and because there's so much talk about Bryce Underwood and like his recruitment or whatever, I almost get the feeling, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. Please don't take it that way, anybody. But I feel like there's some like Bryce Underwood fatigue. You just sort of take it for granted that he's good. He's going to do what he needs to do. But like, I don't think we fully appreciate that when we watch this guy go out and perform week to week, that this kid is a true freshman and that we're going to get him for 2 more years after this. And there are some plays that he makes and some throws that he makes. And I said this on social media, that there are some guys in the NFL right now today that cannot make those throws. And I just think that overall, his growth from week 1 to week 7 is exactly what you want to see. It's not perfect, but he's not turning the ball over a lot. He's making incredible throws. I just think for Michigan, to me, it gets overlooked a lot, even though he gets a lot of praise, which is kind of this weird place to be. But Bryce Underwood has been incredible this season. And then I think on Saturday against Washington, once again, making throws that just kind of like you sit back and you're like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if Michigan's had a quarterback like that in quite some time. You know, I love JJ McCarthy. We both got love for JJ McCarthy.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember a quarterback on Michigan's roster that could make some of the throws I've seen Bryce Underwood making.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the numbers, right? 21 for 27 with 2 drops. That should have been legit catches. So the kid should have been 23 for 27, probably over 250 yards. 7th game, been 18 years old for all of 7 minutes. Yeah, I'll tell you where I go with the Bryce fatigue, and I have to keep getting reeled back in by my buddies. Is I keep saying, what about Bryce in year 2 or 3? Like, I just almost want to like let's get to there. What's this kid going to look like in year 2 or 3? Like, I mean, he picked apart that Washington. He did everything right. I mean, I don't believe that he put the ball. I mean, that one-handed Marsh catch was a bad throw on his part. That Marsh.
Okay, let's talk about that though. Was it a bad throw? Because when I went back and watched it on the replay, but when I saw it on the replay, it looked like there was a safety coming in from the other side to where if Underwood leads him, it's either a big hit on Marsh or even an interception. So I think whether it was intentional or not, it seemed like he placed it in the best possible place he could, right?
Accidental genius. I made my whole living on that.
I mean,
I agree. You're going right to what I was saying, though. I was going to say, like, I don't think he put the ball in a bad position. I don't remember a throw that game where I was like, oh, what were you doing? And to me, game 7, you go a whole game clean. I mean, that's progress, man. It's not like we went from losing to USC to playing Western Michigan. I mean, we stepped right up to Washington where, you know, like you said, Jake Butt was saying this could be a championship, a college football playoff type team, you know?
Yeah.
So I was impressed that he took what the defense gave him, which is perfect. I mean, you look at some of the guys we've played against, right? Like USC, their quarterback, Mateer, Oklahoma. I don't think they did anything crazy to Michigan. They just took advantage of what we were doing. Right? I'm going to dump a screen. They didn't do anything crazy. And that's the evolution of a quarterback, right? You remember Tom Brady didn't always throw it 80 yards. He will throw to Wes Welker for 5 yards and march 100 yards down the field and score a touchdown and not get
won a lot of Super Bowls doing that.
He did okay. He did all right. He had an all right career. So I was impressed with that. But they say he's a very cerebral kid when it comes to football, and it kind of showed.
And you can see it. And like I said, like I just think that because we talk about him so much and there's so much of a spotlight on him that it's almost like you kind of take it for granted and you forget that you're watching a true freshman, 18-year-old quarterback out there playing that level of football for the Michigan Wolverines as a starter. I'm impressed with him from week to week. And one of the things that I think also we should keep in mind is that he's having this kind of performance in an offense that is still very much a work in progress, right? It's not like he stepped into a returning or reigning national championship type offense where you've got a veteran offensive line behind you and you've got stacked wide receivers on each side. Like, let's think about the setup that Julian Sayin has right now, right? There is a embarrassment of riches on that Ohio State offense. Bryce Underwood, and that's not to discredit the offense at Michigan, but let's be honest, right? You got now you got a redshirt freshman and Blake Frazier starting on the offensive line. You got 2 sophomores on the other side. You've had some injury issues. And then we know about the drop issues, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But Bryce Underwood, he's finding a way to make it work. He's not forcing the issue. He's not turning the ball over. I think he's got only 2 interceptions on the season so far. He doesn't really get sacked very often. And so, again, couldn't be more impressed with that kid in the role that he's played for the Michigan Wolverines. And to your point, and I think we talked about this before, Jared, like, was it you that told me that Bryce Underwood was inevitable? Were you the one that used that word? It feels like that for Underwood in this Michigan offense, that wherever this is headed, that it just feels inevitable that we are going to see some incredible things with number 19 leading the way. And I'm excited for it. Anything else you want to say about Underwood before we hop off onto the next topic here?
No, just real quick, what you were talking about, right? With you also look at his receivers, right? His top 2 receivers. You got the man Mosa back out. Beautiful.
I do. For anybody who's been asking me, I got peer pressured into drinking man Mosas again. So here we are, a little bit of Chardonnay with a splash of orange juice in the glass tonight on a Monday evening.
So I think his 2 targets, you look at him, McCulley is a seasoned receiver, but I mean, he's new to Bryce, right? There was no real time with him. Marsh, it's all new, right? Saying, I believe some people are talking about in the comments. He's a freshman, but he's a redshirt, right? So he was there last year, wasn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong. In Ohio State, Julian saying, yeah, he was there last year, so he's got reps with those guys too. You know what I mean? So again, no, just very impressed with him, and honestly, the way they've handled him and kind of let him be who he wants to be now. So good work.
Tyrone says Alcoholics Anonymous can. Oh, wait, call your sponsor. Oh, I thought he said could be our sponsor.
I'm his sponsor, so this is a fail on everybody's part.
We're looking for sponsorships. I thought he was saying get alcohol.
Get AA to sponsor us as you're drinking on the show.
The wine is already kicking in. Mandy says she is not here to listen about how great Ohio State is. Look, we're not gassing up Ohio State. It's just, what's obvious is obvious. They've got a pretty solid offense, and you can hate Ohio State and also say like, wow, that offense is pretty impressive. Let's move on. Let's get off the Bryce Underwood topic because once again, we're spending about 10 minutes on each of these here. How about the bounce back game for the defense? I think coming off of that USC game, the offense had its struggles, but they've been struggling at parts throughout the entire season. And so it wasn't all that surprising to see that show up again on the road against USC. The biggest part of that was the defense, and to watch these guys be out of position, take bad tackle angles. Like, it just looked like they were completely out of sorts. This was a huge bounce back game for the Michigan defense. You had 3 guys make interceptions, Cole Sullivan, Jimmy Rolder, and then Odin also got an interception. How about Sullivan, by the way? Leading the team as a linebacker with interceptions. He's got 3 interceptions on the year. I mean, this guy, he's been incredibly impressive. And there were people that were talking about Cole Sullivan saying, why isn't he on the field more often? Why isn't he on the field? I think he's playing his way into that. I do recall even the first year that Wink Martindale was here and we were at the press conference, somebody asked Wink Martindale, like, hey, who's a guy that, you really didn't expect coming in that's really standing out? And the first guy he said was Cole Sullivan. And so Wink Martindale is a big Cole Sullivan guy, and you can see that he's earning his reps the right way by making plays on the field. And I think as long as he continues to do that, we're going to see more of that. But it wasn't just Cole Sullivan. It wasn't just Jimmy Rolder. Derek Moore, by the way, he is PFF's Defensive Player of the Week. He had 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hurries, and then the clamp down by the defense on in the fourth quarter. I think Washington finished the fourth quarter with like minus. Let me figure out where it is here because I've got it in my phone.
Yeah, like minus 1.5 yards or something crazy.
Yeah, the fourth quarter stats were pretty impressive.
Yeah, they didn't even play.
Where the hell is it? Okay, so fourth quarter. Obviously, Michigan didn't give up any points in the fourth quarter, but held Washington to -8 yards total in the fourth quarter. They had 4 rushing attempts for -8 yards. Let me see here. Zero completions. 0 completions in the fourth quarter. 0 pass yards in the fourth quarter.
Nothing. They did nothing. It's like when you're playing football in the backyard with your little brother.
Yeah, didn't convert a third down. Didn't convert a first down. Dude, they ran 5 total plays in the fourth quarter. Yeah,
it was dominant.
How the hell did that happen? Washington ran.
Michigan had the ball for 37 minutes of the game. That was in the fourth quarter. It reminded me of that championship team, that Anaconda effect, right? They just choked them out. It was over. Like there was nothing for them to do. And they were down, so they were trying to drop back and pass, and they couldn't do anything. And, I mean, Michigan sealed it with that timeout that I erroneously texted you about. You
were hot about that. You were questioning Sharon Moore. Even in victory, you were questioning Sharon Moore in a text to me.
And most as myself, and I was not thinking straight.
No, this is great. I mean, 5 total plays in the fourth quarter for Washington, 0 yards, and they time of possession was 1 minute, 41 seconds. And so, again, Wink Martindale, you talk about Sharon Moore being under fire last week. Wink Martindale was another guy who was under fire all last week. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I take away from this game overall was that they just responded, right? There was a lot of noise. There was a lot of questioning. There was a lot of finger pointing. And we saw some things happening on social media where some former players were saying some things and then current players were not very happy with it. There was just a lot. There was a lot going on. And this was a game where Michigan had to come out and respond, and to watch the Wolverines do that, I think is awesome. Is there anything you want to say about this defense? I mean, I know I went over the fourth quarter stats, but anything that you noticed, anything you want to bring up?
Yep, just an odd thing for me. Again, I think that Jay Sean had 31 snaps. It just still seems like I don't know why he's not getting a lot of those. I don't know. It seems like when he's in there, he can get to the quarterback at will, or at least put pressure on him. And for him to still only get 31 snaps, it felt odd to me. It still feels odd. They're keeping him right around that 30 range, and I don't understand. And maybe they're just trying to keep him fresh. I don't know, but I just think he's your best weapon on the edge. I don't know why he's not in there 90% of the time. And it's not like he's tired. He doesn't look tired. I don't get it.
I don't know, man.
Rated out well PFF, you know.
Listen, Michigan has always been a defense, at least, you know, for a while now, that likes to rotate guys and lean on its depth a little bit. And certainly, I think I agree with you that Jayshawn Barham is that kind of guy. Sometimes he's overly aggressive. Sometimes he overly, you know, his pursuit is a little bit off. Yeah. Sometimes he on that 4th down play, right? That was kind of on Jayshawn Barham. He crashed down. He got too far inside, and he let him go out and get a first down. You could see Wink Martindale on the sideline, like losing his mind. But but you're going to get that with guys like that. You don't want to, you want to coach that a little bit, but you also want Jayshawn Barham to be who he is and what makes him so destructive coming off the edge. Yep. And so I think the good news is it was a dominant performance for the defense. Everybody got out relatively healthy, and you live to fight another day. And you know, now you're looking forward to Michigan State, which we'll get into in a little bit later. The other thing that I wanted to, at least that I have here in my notes, was talking about the passing game. In the first half, I was losing my mind about the passing game. I mean, it was like same old story. Here we go again, like just these drops, and you're like, and I get some people want to put it on Bryce Underwood. They think he needs to take a little bit of heat off the ball, and it looked like he got better at that in the second half, like he was taking something off of it. But still, man, drops are an issue for this wide receiver group, and even with the tight ends to a certain extent. But man, oh man, Andrew Marsh. I mean, let's stick with the positive. Andrew Marsh is a guy who is just another true freshman. We talk about, you know, where's Bryce Underwood going to be year 2, year 3? Where's Andrew Marsh going to be year 2, year 3? This guy looks automatic catching the ball. Just another impressive performance from the true freshman. Donovan McCulley was a little bit quiet on Saturday. He only had 2 receptions, but I think over the last 7 weeks, he's proven to also be a reliable target. And so when I look at the game overall, from a receiving standpoint, I saw some of the issues that still frustrate me, but you're starting to see some other guys emerge through the air who can be playmakers for the Wolverines. And so what's your overall take on that from what you saw from the passing game, not necessarily from Bryce Underwood, but for the guys whose job it is to go out and snag the ball out of the air?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have a little bit of, just trepidation from those drops that we've seen, because we only had 2. There was 2 drops that whole game. But it's just when it happens, right? You and I text each other immediately, right? Like, here we go again, you know? So I think the fans are a little bit shell-shocked from those. So when they see a drop, it becomes a big issue. I think Marsh is just one of those guys. He reminds me of sometimes you just see a guy who doesn't realize he should be playing at this level already. Like he just is that, he's got that swag, right? He's that guy. He's him. That's what the kids say, right? He's him. He doesn't realize that maybe you shouldn't be catching one-handed passes for touchdowns in the Big Ten and you're 18 years old. You know what I mean? He has that ability. And then I saw somebody in the comments make a comment. I can't remember who it was. I'm sorry for not giving you credit, but said line McCulley up at tight end. I don't think that, but maybe bring him in from the sideline. Let him work the middle of the field more, right? Because it seems like a lot of the passes that Underwood's throwing to him are, again, against him in the sideline, where McCulley doesn't really have a shot. Either it's a perfect pass, or he never even get a shot at it. There we go, right there. Ralph Lewis. I don't think he needs to take the tight end spot or position, but let him work the middle of that field a little bit. You know, he's 6'5". You know, him going across that middle. I think you're not using McCulley the right way. I watched some film of him in Indiana, and they were running him across the middle a lot more than what we're doing. We're got him as a stretch guy for some reason. I don't see why that's the thing. But again, Marsh is just, again, he doesn't even realize that he probably shouldn't be doing some of the things he's doing. He had 62 snaps.
Yeah, I mean, he's just
ultimate confidence, right? Like,
we talked about Cole Sullivan being a guy who's earning reps and making plays. Yep. Andrew Marsh is a guy, like, it's been beautiful to watch these last 7 weeks and watch him go from like supplemental wide receiver to, after week 7, you're looking at him as like he's the top wide receiver on the roster right now. Yeah. And he's doing it because he's earned it. He's catching damn near everything that comes his way. He's making critical plays, big plays. I mean, that's the type of player that you need to surround Bryce Underwood with if you want to get the most out of this offense. And I think a big part of this, man, is that and you see this with Ohio State and the way that things have gone over the last 5 years. Sometimes it's talent, but also sometimes it's psychological. And I think when you're a wide receiver room and you start to get this reputation of like, you guys can't go out and make plays and you guys can't catch the ball when it matters, you need a guy who can emerge and start doing that and start to change the tone and mentality of that room. And Donovan McCulley and in particular Andrew Marsh are two guys who are leading in that effort. And I think that it's big, not just for what it's going to do for this year or what that connection between Marsh and Underwood is going to do for years to come, but it's also good for people to see that who might be thinking about entering the transfer portal and might be looking at Ann Arbor as a potential destination and wondering like, can they throw the ball up there in Ann Arbor? Is that a destination for me? Well, when you watch Underwood and Andrew Marsh make those connections repeatedly and you see the production that's starting to happen, it's a lot easier to sell that to like a top level wide receiver who's entering the portal and thinking like, I might come to Michigan, but you got to sell me on it, right? If you're Sharon Moore, you don't just want to have to sit back and talk about it all the time. You want to be able to throw on the film and be like, check out number 4, check out number 1. Like, this is what we're trying to do. And this is how we see you fitting in. So I think that's it. It's just for a true freshman like that to have that type of impact on this offense, I think has been such an awesome thing to watch.
No, 100%. And I think we covered him a little bit, when he was in high school, writing about him and stuff. And he was making highlight reel plays then. He just has that it factor where, again, you're starting to feel like you just said every pass that goes his way, you expect him to catch it. Not only do you expect him to catch it, then I expect him to make 2-3 guys miss and streak down the sideline, and when he does, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Marsh? That was a 15-yard gain. What are we doing here? We need, and that's incredible to think that about a freshman.
Yeah.
2-3 years hit Marsh and Underwood. Like, that's going to be something.
Look, man, at some point in his
career,
Xavier
Worthy in him. Little Xavier Worthy.
A little bit of that in there. And at some point here in the near future, we might see him wearing that number 1 jersey if it still means what they say it means in Ann Arbor. Here's a guy that I want to make sure that we don't forget and don't leave off the list. How about Jordan Marshall? This guy has been playing backup to Justice Haynes. Justice Haynes, by the way, Jared, you and I were talking about this before we went live. He is a legitimate Heisman caliber running back, and he's been doing it against a banged up offensive line that's, again, work in progress offensive line. He's been putting up big numbers. I think even after missing the game against Washington and part of the game against USC, he's still the second leading rusher in the Big Ten, I believe. And so he's, right. He's still considered one of the top. But Jordan Marshall is a guy who's been trying to fight for reps against a talented running back. And when he got his opportunity to shine, he did the same thing last year against Alabama, where he ran for 100 yards and ended up as the ReliaQuest MVP. Here he is once again. He's getting his opportunity with Haynes injured, and he comes out and has another dominant performance. And it's different than what you see from Justice Haynes, where he's got that wiggle and shimmy and shake, and he can break it off to the outside, and he's like a 50-yard home run threat every time he gets the ball. With Jordan Marshall, it's just like he's a sledgehammer, right? And he's running into the brick wall, rep after rep after rep, until eventually that wall just breaks down. And we were talking about this before we went live. It almost started to feel like the defense just didn't want to tackle him anymore because it just keeps coming and keeps coming. And at some point, I mean, that Marshawn Lynch quote, I'm not going to say it word for word, but when you keep smashing people in the face rep after rep, it kind of wears on you as a defense. Yeah. And I think that was what Jordan Marshall's all about.
Yeah, no, I was in the man cave watching the game, and I started to feel a little bad for some of those Washington defenders at a point. Like he doesn't, and it's coming. He doesn't. They were starting to flinch. They were doing that little side tackle where you square up and you're like, nah, I'm just gonna. And he's squaring up every play. It punishes teams, and that's been the recipe for Michigan for years, right? What were people saying against USC? Michigan got out toughed. Yeah, and what did we bring back? Toughness, like that. Yeah. He embodies what it is, and he sets the tone, right? And I see people talking about the offensive line. Well, you know what gets the offensive line fired up? When they look up and see a running back run over a defender, right? Now they're fired up. They want to go hit somebody. Hitting is contagious. Yeah, that's why you do it in practice, right? Because it becomes contagious. It becomes something you want to do. And he sprinkled that hit juice on everybody, man. It was loud. I got a good system down here, and we heard some crunches where I thought, man, good Lord.
Yeah. No, he's, and it's just such a luxury to have a guy like that as your RB2. And, I think we talked about this before we clicked the live button, and we're not speculating on any of this stuff, but I also think I've mentioned this before. It is a real conversation that I think some people are having. You want to make sure that you keep Jordan Marshall happy. You want to make sure that you keep him in the mix, because the reality is Jordan Marshall is the type of running back that can go and start on any number of teams, right? But he's playing RB2 at the University of Michigan. I don't doubt that he loves the University of Michigan. I don't doubt that he wants to be here, but you need talented guys like that to get theirs too. And I think that these opportunities are critical for making sure that everybody eats and everybody stays happy, because with NIL and the transfer portal and how all of that works, like Michigan is very, very deep at the running back position. And with Savion Hyder coming in next year, they're only going to get deeper. That's a lot of mouths to feed in the running back room. And so keeping all those guys healthy has got to be not an easy task, or keeping them healthy and happy, right? Feeding them the carries that they need. So I think that was a great game for Jordan Marshall, and also for his mentality to like prove to himself and to everybody else, like he is who he thinks he is, right? I mean, Jordan Marshall was a guy that after the Alabama game last year, I thought it was a given that he was just going to be Michigan's starting running back. And then you get Justice Haynes coming in, and obviously he earned that starting role, and rightfully so. But just, again, can't say enough about Jordan Marshall. He's such a solid running back. I love that just thump, 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 play after play after play. And I think that that's going to be something that Michigan's going to be able to lean on heavily down the stretch when you do get into those tight games, and you do got to kind of break the will of the defense across from you. How do you do that? Well, it's nice to have a home run threat like Justice Haynes, but it's also nice to just play smash mouth football with a running back like Jordan Marshall.
Yeah, and they remind me very much of I'm more of an NFL guy than you are, but they remind me very much of what the Lions are doing with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, right? Like, yeah, Gibbs is getting about 70% of the carries, 65% of the carries, but when Montgomery comes in there, he runs so hard and so angry, it changes the game a little bit, So, but yeah, I mean, what a luxury. What a luxury.
Ralph, we'll get into this. He asks about Dominic Zavada. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Pam asks from the Facebook page, she asks, what's Haynes' injury? All I know is it's an abdominal injury. I'm not exactly sure, specifically what it is. And it doesn't sound like it's anything too serious. I feel like if they were playing Ohio State last weekend, I feel like Justice Haynes would have gone. I think it's one of those injuries where they're just trying to give it as much time to heal as they possibly can, because, when you look at the schedule and who's in front of them, it seems like it's setting up for Haynes to take his time in getting back. Let me see here.
As a doctor of nothing to do with medical, I have to agree with everything you said there, Chris. Yeah, very good.
Is that just your assessment in line with that, Dr. Johnson? Okay, good. Okay, so we've talked about the good things here. You got to talk about, I guess, some things that you saw that are raising eyebrows a little bit. And Samaj Morgan, he's been on the team now for a while now. He's done his thing on special teams, and he has a tendency to like break out and make some plays here and there. But Samaj Morgan is now leading the team in drops. He's got 6 drops through 7 games. And once again on Saturday, a real quick, easy out, should have been an easy point A to point B completion. It goes through Samaj Morgan's hands. We have seen this now a number of times. It's not like it's a tough throw down the field. It's normally on like a quick out or a bubble screen or something like that. He's just having trouble hauling it in. I guess, Jared, how do you, because I saw a lot of people on social media that were like, you got to get Samaj Morgan off the field, right? He's a liability out there. That was sort of the narrative around it. What do you attribute it to? And how do you think you fix it? And I mean, if you're in that position, do you pull Samaj Morgan off the field and start giving other guys reps?
Well, as an experienced wide receiver, I played Class D in the Upper Peninsula, graduated with 20 people. So I have a little bit of knowledge on this. Okay. Yep. Was waiting for that. No, I mean, performance anxiety, I guess. I mean, can you imagine being that kid? You've dropped 6, and it seems like when he drops them, it's not just like, 1st and 10. He drops them when they're important, like critical plays, critical moments. And I feel bad for the kid. You can almost feel like in his mind, he's like, oh dear God, here it comes here. And I dropped it. But he's a talent though. You can't really take him off the field. I mean, who's going to be your third receiver? You got Marsh McCulley, and I think you got Samaj. I mean, we thought Frederick Moore, he's gone. Goodwin fell off. Browder's a rookie, a freshman.
We haven't really seen Jamar Browder at all, as far as I can recall. Kendrick Bell has been in here and there. I think he had a big catch in week 1.
He had that huge drop, remember?
Yeah, and then he had a big drop against Minnesota.
I think he's just getting more reps than some of the other guys. I think he only had 31 reps this last game, but I mean, get on the jug machine, man. What did you know? Get on the jug. He's got to go reps. You got to get.
But I mean, you're going into week 8. Like Channing Goodwin started the season, and like we hardly ever see him anymore. So you're right. I mean, I think that's where you got to go to the tight ends. But I don't know like who's that solid wide receiver number 3. I'm not really sure who that is. It just feels like for whatever reason, Samaj Morgan's got to get out of his head because he's. I think we can all agree on this. He's more talented than what he's producing right now. And it might just be the same thing that we're seeing with Dominic Zavada, right? It's in your head. You're starting to overthink everything, and you just got to get back to basics. You got to get back to fundamentals. I don't even know what this is in relation to here. There it is, my beautiful wife.
How awesome I was in high school. Probably.
Listen, if we should just spend one show talking about like things we did in high school, so like I can go get photos. Like I send photos of myself to Jared. I send like, different things, memorabilia from my past just to prove that like, yeah, at one point in time, your boy could put up some numbers, Might not look like it now.
I don't believe any of it, but
I run 15 feet and I'm sweating profusely. So it's talk about needing to get back to basics. I got to get back to basics with my health here.
Start with the man mimosas. That's got fruit in it.
Here we go. Right. That's right. My vitamin C for the evening. So Samaj Morgan, I mean, that's obviously disappointing. And then Dominic Zavada, last year he was 21 of 22 on the season. This year he is 9 of 13. And it's just, if he had gone out and went pro last year, you feel like he would have been a kicker that would have been highly sought after just because he was Mr. Automatic. He was making from everywhere. Yeah. This year, it just feels like even when it's extra points, man, you're kind of sitting back and you're just kind of wondering, how's this thing going to go, right? And so that's another thing that I think is difficult. I don't really know how you work it out. Like kickers are a fragile thing. And once you start to see that ball go wide right, wide left, it's hard not to think about that when you line up again. I'll say this, I guess, if there's any guy that you think has the ability to pull through it, it's Dominic Zavada. And I've got a feeling that down the stretch here, they're going to have to lean on him in some situations. They're going to need him to make critical field goals, and you just hope he gets this thing figured out. CJ Frazier comes in with the comment. He says, as a 49ers fan that watched Jake Moody says, kicking is such a mental game. Yeah, I mean, it is. Like, Jake Moody, he got released, right, from San Francisco, and then he gets picked up by Chicago, and he just kicked the game-winning field goal. Right, was it last weekend? Yeah, so it's a mental thing with these guys, man. You got to protect your kickers at all costs. You hate to see Zavada go through something like this. But like I said, I feel like he can work it out, but it's one of those things where you take it for granted when it's working and your kicker's 21 of 22 and hitting from 55 and damn near 60 yards. And you're like, well, this is easy money. We can count on at least three every single drive. And now it doesn't feel like it's such a certain thing here. So you really want to see that get worked out. Yeah, I'm not even going to touch the punting game. I mean, I saw there was somebody that was, the special teams coach came out and was talking about how, well, he's a first year, he's a new starting punter or whatever it is. And I saw the commentary on social media and they were like, it doesn't matter if you're a first year punter. Like, it's not like you're having to do a lot. The ball gets snapped to you, just kick the shit out of it. Like, it's really, it's a straightforward process here. And so I don't know what they need to do to get that figured out. Like Samaj Morgan, get on the jugs, just get into Al Glick Fieldhouse and just kick the ball until your damn leg's about to fall off until you get it figured out. But I don't know how you correct that. I don't know how you fix that. That's why I'm not getting paid to do that though. How about this, Jared? Blake Frazier stepping in. Had some injuries on the offensive line. We saw Evan Link go down. It sounds like he's going to be out for a handful of weeks. There was some concern during the injury where, I don't know, the way you see a guy get carted off, you're like, geez, I don't know if he's going to be back this year. But Sharon Moore during the press conference today made it sound like there's a chance that they might get Evan Link back this year. But Blake Frazier stepped in. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Blake Frazier was the highest graded Michigan offensive lineman from Saturday, according to PFF. Jared, thoughts about Blake Frazier stepping into that role as a redshirt freshman?
Yeah, I mean, it was yeah. So he was rated 66.3. Andrew Sprague was actually rated 66.4.
Okay, so Sprague a little bit higher, which again is a guy who's we
were concerned about him last week.
Yeah,
I feel like everybody that we were concerned about played well. So clearly they've been watching the pod. They listened to what we had to say based on our extensive knowledge of football.
Of course.
And everybody did much better based on what we know. Frazier, Frazier was a big time talent coming out of high school anyways, right? So you do expect big things. I follow all the people, talking heads, and one thing that Michigan fans have to realize right now is what we're getting is reps for these guys, some good reps, and that's never a bad thing, I mean, if we don't win the Natty this year, these reps are great moving forward, right? I didn't say we weren't going to. Take that one back. I said if by some shocking miracle we don't win the Natty, these are good reps for the future, and they looked great. But like I said, when you have that running back that's coming across the line, crushing dudes, and the linemen see that, I think that that just it picks up that tenacity, and they were ferocious. They were pancaking dudes, and Bryce had good time. He rolled out a few times, but I mean, should have been 23 for 27. That tells you right there that the line gave him time, and then the running backs go for 100 yards. That's a great on the offense. I guess that's why they're on the honor roll for the Joe Moore Award, which you were.
There you go. Which when you saw that, you were very understanding and acknowledged that they deserve to be on that list.
Right. I didn't refresh my phone 3 times to make sure I was reading it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. There's a lot of young guys on the offensive line that are getting valuable experience. Obviously, that's Michigan's bread and butter with the running game. Everything starts up front. We know that. And it's one of those things where, next year you would expect it to be significantly better than what we're seeing this year. And that has been such a puzzling thing. We've talked about it on shows before because Sharon Moore, he's an offensive line guy, and to watch that unit struggle as much as they are, or have been with Evan Link and with Gio El-Hadi and some of the guys who have been in the program for a while now. It's just a tough thing to see because that's not what you're used to from the Michigan Wolverines. But I think they are starting to take steps in the right direction. And to your point, the young guys are getting the reps, and this is only going to help Michigan moving forward. And we talked about this. Nobody was really looking at this year saying like, hey, this is a national championship year. I mean, what those years feel like, right? Like going into 2023, everybody within the Michigan fan base knew what that year was all about. And it was awesome to watch that team go out and perform and live up to that hype. This year feels like you're setting the foundation. You're setting the stage for something special to come. And when you look at the young guys, both offense and defense, that are getting significant reps, and not just like garbage reps, but like real reps in like critical game action, when you see that happening across the board, it's hard not to feel positive about the direction where this program is headed, even though it's hard to feel that in the lows, when you go out to LA and you put up 13 points, and you go out to Norman, Oklahoma, and you put up 13 points and you get blown out in both games. Sometimes that can distract you from the bigger picture of what's happening with this program. And that's, I guess, what I'm going to ask you, because we talked about the commentary surrounding this program last week. Sharon Moore was in the crosshairs. There were all kinds of questions about what this Michigan team was going to do, how they were going to be able to finish, looking at the remainder of the schedule and kind of what their overall, regular season record would be. Let me ask you this, Jared. How do you feel about the team now? And how much did that win over Washington change your perception of not just this team, but also Sharon Moore and his ability to lead them to ultimately, hopefully, back to a national championship?
Well, I mean, for one, and if somehow Sharon sees this, or if his wife is on, the blue collar jacket thing was cheesy. Love you, Sharon. Cheesy.
You're a hater.
They've already done it. It's already been done. Like, what?
Okay, but listen, the memes that came from it were incredible. Did you see those? Like, I
appreciate the fodder. Yeah.
There was one
chef's jacket. We're ready to cook. Like all the
There was an Ohio State fan who shared one where it was Sharon Moore in like a lifeguard jacket, and he was holding like a flotational device, and it was like the caption was Sharon saying something like, "I know that people think that the ship is sinking, but I'm holding this flotation device to let everybody know that I won't let this thing go underwater," or something like that. Like all these things came out. It was incredible, and he laughed about it today.
Yeah, he did. He said it worked, right? No, I don't think the team is I don't think they're this amazing team that's just gonna, take the world by storm or anything. They're still young. The bottom line is you still have a young team that's getting reps. I think that the two biggest components that we were worried about, the offensive line and the defense, they got called out. And this is a social media age. These kids see that, right? They might see us talking about they see everybody else. And then for a coach, how easy is it? What did Wink Martindale say to the defense? They're questioning manhood.
Right. From what Damon Payne said, he was like, what kind of men are we going to be? Yes. And really challenge them. And you heard that from Sharon Moore, that there were a lot of tough conversations that took place last week. And it really sounds like those resonated within the team for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you've been in that facility. You've looked around. You see the history. You feel the history when you walk in that place. So as a coach, how easy must it be to say, look around, like you're not playing to this standard. And if you're not playing to the standard, we will find somebody that will play to the standard. We'll play freshmen. And they show that they will. Injuries somewhat, but Andrew Marsh, like he's the guy now, right? Bryce took the reins from the very beginning. They're going to play the best possible players. And I think they had a great game plan. And I was surprised. I think we both were how they contained Washington's quarterback. I did not expect that. I'm not a man who gambles, but if I had gambled, I might have lost my parlay because of that. Yeah, I lost my parlay because I thought he was going to rush for at least 40 yards.
Not only do you
-4.
Listen, not only do you gamble, but you have on multiple occasions tried to entice me to get me to gamble as well. Like you're sending me
now gambling
special,
Chris,
special promos that are going on. Just sign up, put your bank account information in there, make a $5 bet. It's all good. You know, guaranteed money here. Like this is a sickness that spreads. I can see why gambling can be an issue. I'm glad I've avoided it for this long, and I think I'm going to try to continue in that effort because
in a minute.
I think I wasn't in a spot where I was doubting Sharon Moore, doubting the direction of this program. I do think, like I said last week, it was fair to start asking some questions, especially when the team plays inconsistently and there's just things that aren't happening. And you're wondering where, how is this team going to respond? Especially when we heard last year that there was a little bit of division in the locker room and there was a little bit of just like, things kind of went off the rails. And so you want to make sure that you've got the right guys in the building to where you lose your second game, you're up against it. How is everybody going to respond? Are you going to do some of the finger pointing and back and forth that we sort of heard was happening, which got a little bit of pushback from some guys on the team? Yeah, but, are you going to start to see that some in your locker room, or are you going to see guys that pull together and get shit done on the football field and respond emphatically? And I think that was what we saw on Saturday. And you got to give credit to the players for doing that, because those are the guys on the field that are actually making shit happen. But you also have to give credit to the head coach. You got to give credit for Sharon Moore, because without strong leadership in the building, it's easy for things to come apart. I feel like, especially in today's age of college football, man, it's fragile. You got a lot of egos in the room. You got a lot of money flowing through there. You got options. You got people that are trying to recruit you on social media and pull you every which way and have you do all these things. Like, it is a fragile thing, and it's very, very hard to keep it together. And I think that what we saw on Saturday, I'm not going to make too much out of it, but I think what we saw on Saturday was like just another positive indicator that you got the right guy leading the way, because these guys want to play for him. These guys responded, and it was a total game on both sides of the ball. And so I feel good about where this team is right now. I don't know that I would have said that a week ago, right? I had a lot of questions about what we were going to see from them the remainder of the way, but Washington definitely felt like that kind of fork in the road for where this season was going to potentially go. So now you're Michigan, you're 5-2. You're looking at the remainder of the schedule. You got Michigan State this weekend. You got Purdue, which, 2 primetime games, right? Michigan State and then Purdue in primetime. There's a lot of people that have issues with that, by the way. Are you
Purdue game? Did I miss that?
You didn't see it? It's another, no. I think it's a 7:30. Yeah. It's another primetime game.
So I was wondering when it was.
Yeah. So we got two primetime games, Michigan State and Purdue. Then you got Northwestern, you got Maryland, and then you've got Ohio State at the end of the year. We said this earlier in the show that when you look at the remainder of the schedule, now that they've got Washington on the way, the table is set for Michigan to go into that final game of the year with just 2 losses on the record and potentially be playing for a spot in the college football playoff. And that is something that these guys are going to draw from. I know that you want to take it 1 week at a time and you don't want to look too far ahead, but you also want to know that you're playing for something bigger, right? You never want to get into a situation where all of your big goals on the season are already off the table by October. And so these guys have quite a bit to play for from here on out, and I think we're going to see this team continue to play inspired football. But one thing to keep your eye on is going to be consistency. Can this team do what we saw last Saturday, which I think we would all agree, right? Last Saturday is a fair expectation of this team on both sides of the ball. It wasn't perfect. There's things they need to work on, but it's fair to expect what we saw against Washington every week from here on out. And so I think that's the standard that you got to hold this team to. Can they continue to live up to it? I guess, only time will tell. But Jared, I feel pretty good that they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, well, and one of the other big things you deal with when you got a young team is, inconsistencies, but also playing down to competition. That's what I'm afraid of at this point, right? Like, I don't think the Michigan State game is going to be an issue because that's just rivalry, right? A lot of these guys played together in high school. They want this one bad, both sides of the ball. But a Purdue game, it's a prime time. You're supposed to win it. Those games make me nervous a little bit, with a young team. But yeah, it's all in front of us, and I think it's very, very possible that we go into that game with everything still on the table, which is exactly what you want from that game. So
yeah, that's what you're talking about the Michigan State game. We can wait until Thursday before we, I guess, look at it a little bit closer. But is it just? I just feel like there's no juice for this one. There's just not a lot of juice for this one. Like normally, I don't know, Michigan State, it's something you get up for. And I never want to see Michigan State do well, but I just feel like it's more fun when they're a better football team. I just feel like they're not very good. And so it's hard to get really up for this game as a fan. Am I the only one feeling it, or do people out there feel the same, where there's just not that sort of rivalry juice this time?
There's a lot of turmoil in East Lansing right now too, right? With the, pending, I think, firing of their head coach. And I mean, yeah, a lot of the, Aiden Childs is, he's playing okay, but he's not playing to what, Michigan State fans thought when he and Jonathan Smith came over from Oregon State. They came from, right? Again, I live in Lansing, so I hear all of it. Oh, here we come. We got Aiden Childs. And I mean, I don't know. He's okay, but I don't think he's done anything. Tony's got it, but yeah, I'm not as excited as It's not like I'm going up and buying tickets for it.
Well, see, and John from the Facebook page, he's asking, will the MSU players be fired up to save their head coach's job? That's something to keep your eye on, but. Yeah, I just you have there is a segment of the Michigan State fan base that is actually hoping that Michigan wins on Saturday because they want to see Jonathan Smith fired, and so I just think it's this weird dynamic where I don't know that there's some Michigan State fans who are hoping for a miracle, but I think most of them know that Michigan State's probably not going to win, and I think there's another portion within that fan base that are saying, I hope Michigan wins because we need to get rid of Jonathan Smith, and the sooner we do that, the better. And so I just think it's this weird sort of it just feels weird going into a rivalry game where this is sort of the tone where Michigan and Michigan State fans are almost in agreement on not only who's going to win, but who you want to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see, Nick Marsh plays last season for Michigan State before he transfers. But yeah, Marsh and Underwood, baby, I'm good with it.
That would be great. That would be great. Yeah, right.
He's exciting to watch. He's at Michigan State. He's a good young player, and I don't know, not to get too far off it, but did you see the Brandon Dawson comment on social media?
I didn't see it.
So Dawson was a MSU hoops player, and I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but there was a comment, and I believe that Nick Marsh's mother got involved, and Brandon Dawson got at her and said, "You need to get your son out of there. Transfer away from Michigan." You got the alumni saying he needs to leave that program. So pretty crazy stuff going on down in East Lansing right now.
Social media, man. Social media, NIL, transfer portal. It's just such a recipe for disaster or for success, depending on what side of things
how you use it. We did all right with it.
Man. Listen, there's one guy that I didn't bring up here that I want to just give a shout out to real quick because he balled out and actually led the team in receiving yards on Saturday. How about Zach Marshall at the tight end position? Like, we talk about guys like at the tight end position that you need to step up, and it's like, where's Marlon Klein and why aren't they doing this? And we're not getting production from the tight ends. Here comes Zach Marshall, who has a breakout game, 5 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 14.4 yards per reception. Deacon Tonelli, obviously, he had 3 receptions for 38 yards. He had that incredible, it was a great catch by Tonelli, but that ball from Bryce Underwood where he was fading away off his back foot and he like threw it across the field with like, Tonelli had 2 defenders on him. He just put it in the perfect spot. Like, that is the type of throw. Not a lot of guys can make that throw, but shout out to the reserve tight ends who you talk about people making the most of their opportunity. Guys like Cole Sullivan, guys like Andrew Marsh, like Zach Marshall also stepped up, made the most of his opportunity. And hopefully he's going to get some more reps because of it, because Bryce Underwood needs reliable targets around him. He's too damn talented to have him do all the work it takes to get the ball out and get it downfield just for somebody to drop it. And so to see guys like McCulley and Andrew Marsh and Zach Marshall starting to haul it in, like, I just think it's going to do such great things for the offense. It's building a chemistry and, to be quite honest, a muscle that they haven't had in Ann Arbor in quite some time. Like, even going back to 2024, like, passing game was non-existent. Like, you don't want to go 2 full seasons questioning whether or not you can throw the football. And it seems like they're starting to figure that out now. And it's a beautiful thing to see, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody who really follows the Michigan team closely, Zach Marshall. He's a big a team favorite too, right? So he's the guy that goes around the locker room. And I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram. If you don't, I'm going to give him a plug. You should. He's hilarious. He does all the trends, the social media trends with the team. He's a funny guy. So you could see that, the team was excited to see him finally get a chance to go out. I mean, he's a big kid. He's a specimen.
Yeah.
I think he ran that first route, and I told my buddy, I said, good Lord, that kid is huge. Like, great target for Underwood, right? And that's what you need, those young quarterbacks. You think about any level of football, that safety valve for the young quarterback, inexperienced quarterback, whatever level they're on, is generally that tight end, right? And a big target that can box out, and he did it. They both did well, and yeah, moving forward, I mean, again, just getting guys with reps, So I was excited for him. He seems like a good kid, and like I said, he's a team guy. So you could see the excitement, on the field every play he made. So pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, again, dominant performance, 24-7. Michigan clamped down in the fourth quarter. Offensively, things started to come alive in the second half, and now you just kind of hope that you see it continue to progress week to week. The good news is they've got some games coming up where they can continue to build on what they did against Washington. It starts this weekend in East Lansing against Michigan State. I am going to be back in the stadium this time. I was out. I didn't go to the Washington game. Jared knows about this. Listen, when you're at this stage of your life, you got to kind of you got to pick and choose what's important to you and how you're going to invest your time. And my son had a soccer tournament this weekend, and they did win. I'm going to get to that. But one of the things I pride myself on as a father so far is that I haven't missed a single game or like dance recital for my daughter, but I haven't missed a single soccer game that my son has played in yet. And so I certainly wasn't going to do that this weekend. They played in a tournament out in Monroe, Michigan. They won the tournament championship. So shout out to Sully. He's been busting his ass, and he scored 5 goals over the weekend. And dude, it's such a, when you see your kid win a championship, I mean, it feels good no matter what age they're at. Like, it just feels good to watch your kid succeed. And he did a hell of a job this weekend. So I will be back in the stadium in East Lansing to shoot the game, Michigan State. I'm hoping that it's a bloodbath. You want to see Michigan take care of business, but look, man, we've seen things before in this rivalry where it can get a little bit weird. Things can get strange. And to somebody's point in the comments section here, maybe this team's going to show up and play inspired football, because despite what Michigan State fans might want, maybe Jonathan Smith's players want to keep him in East Lansing. And so it's going to be interesting to see how Michigan State responds. Jared, is there anything you want to, any shout outs you want to give, anything you want to say before we hop off? Were there any questions in the comments that I might have missed that we didn't get to?
Nope. I got one quick one for you. And it's, I've been thinking about it, and I don't have the answer. So maybe you and your infinite wisdom might have the answer. Oh shit. I want to give a shout out to Chantel for Sully's athletic ability. So good for her on that.
Listen, I love my wife dearly. She is not athletic. There is no athleticism there. She's great. She's a wonderful person, just not athletic.
Wow, here she comes down the steps. So Justice Haynes fully healthy, Jordan Marshall obviously fully healthy. What do you do against Michigan State? How do you if you're Sharon Moore, right? How do you balance those two? Do you rest Haynes a little bit just to get him another week of not getting banged? Because I mean, I think it was right here, right? So getting banged up, and you let Jordan Marshall keep carrying a rock, or do you ease him in? What do you do? Yeah, a lot of comments about the.
I see it. I see it. Listen, I can smooth it over. If there's one thing after 12 years of marriage you get really good at, it's fixing things when you screw up. Eventually, I'm working on that. What do I do in that situation? I don't know, man. That's a tough one because I think my gut feeling would say I would rest Haynes as much as I possibly can. There's no need to rush him back. And like I said earlier in the show, like having Jordan Marshall is such a luxury. So when you got a guy that can lower his shoulder and inflict that type of punishment to the defense, I think, look, until Justice Haynes, I guess this is my answer. If he's not 100%, I'm not putting him on the field as long as I got Jordan Marshall. Unless I get into a situation where there's something going on with Jordan Marshall and there's no rhythm or there's something that's just not working right. If I can lean on Jordan Marshall and I can wait to get Justice Haynes back until he's 100%, then that's the course I'm going to take, because Justice Haynes, as this season goes on and you start to inch your way toward that Ohio State game, you are going to need Justice Haynes to have his best day as a Michigan Wolverine against the Buckeyes. And so whatever I got to do to make sure that's going to happen, that's the process that I'm going to implement there.
Yep, I'll accept that. That's kind of where I'm at too, right?
Put Jayshon Barham in the backfield. Why the hell not? That would be.
Why not?
Listen, I don't necessarily hate it. I don't hate it.
He would throw the ball down and tackle somebody. Forget what he's doing. But
I mean, how about you? Same thing. I'm guessing you're in the same boat. How do you handle that?
I'm on the same board, right? I think you clearly start the first couple series with Jordan Marshall and see what's going on. Like you said, if God forbid something goes sideways, and you got to put Haynes out there, you put him out there. But if you don't have to, I think you just got to tell the young man, listen, bud, it's a couple weeks down the road that we're going to need you 110% to get where we want to go. You know, I mean, And how do we beat that? And we don't want to get too far, but how do we always beat the Ohio State teams, right? We run the ball, control the clock, and having those two guys to do that fully 100% health, I think that's going to be critical.
Yeah.
And we don't need him till we might not need him till OSU. I mean, we're gonna get him reps. He ain't sitting sitting the next 3-4 weeks, but I mean, we might not need him yet. So.
Maybe this is a good game to get Bredesen some carries. Has he carried the ball at all this year?
Bredesen will not score a touchdown though, so we don't want him to carry. Remember, he said that at the Big Ten conference. He's had 900 and some snaps without a touchdown or some crazy nonsense. He's never scored. And
well, listen, we don't need him to score touchdowns. We just need him to hurt people. I mean, that's perfectly fine. This is a great game to be able to do that. Yeah. No, I think it's, again, you just want to see consistency from week to week. And I said it earlier that I think that what we saw from Michigan last weekend, that's a fair expectation of what you should expect from them the rest of the way. And then you'll take your chances and see what you can do against Ohio State. But they'll get their opportunity this weekend against the Michigan State Spartans in prime time. I will be there in East Lansing. Jared he's going to be out there tailgating. He's going to have his shirt off. So if you see some wild, crazy doctor with his shirt off tailgating, it's most likely going to be Jared Johnson here. Make sure you go and tell him hello. Jared, look, we're over an hour into this show. I got to be honest, man. I don't think this was our best work.
Speak for yourself. I think I did fantastic. I PFF'd out at 96. It's because of the man Moses. I'm over here drinking water like a responsible person.
Listen, we talk about Smaj Morgan needing the jugs machine, that they need some reps in the punting game. You and I are going to have to just get on and get some more reps here. I just see we were off our game tonight. We were off our game. We were frustrating people early, giving too much credit to Ohio State. I'm arguing with my wife. I've already started a fight that I'm going to have to deal with once I get off here. Not ideal. But we will be back. So Monday, right? We're good to go on Monday at 6. Or I'm sorry, we'll be back on Thursday to talk Michigan State.
This is bad. We do need more training.
I got soccer tournaments. I got things going on. I'm all over the place here. We will be back on Thursday to talk Michigan State a little bit. But Thursday will also be fan-led Thursday. So for God's sakes, guys, show up with some questions. show up with some topics so that Jared and I don't have to stumble our way through these things. Hopefully we can make it another hour. We will be back. We'll be back. My wife says I'm sleeping outside tonight. We'll be back Thursday at 6 p.m. for a fan-led Thursday. Until then, everybody have a good night. We'll see you then.
All right. Go